Welcome back, everybody, to DreamHack Open Stockholm. And we're about to enter Group Stage 3. 32 players within this group stage. Oh boy, what a set of players we have. If you haven't noticed already, maybe you've been looking at... Poor girl.
Oh boy or girl. I don't like that it's just boy.
Okay, I'm really sorry. Oh girl. If you weren't fully aware of what's going on at the venue, there seems to be a bit of a technical electricity problem or something along the lines. So there has been a bit of delay, which is why we're broadcasting now and not earlier. So thank you for bearing with us. But let's talk about Group Stage 3, guys. We have 32 amazing players. This group stage is probably one of the best group stages that we've seen in DreamHack for a very, very long time.
Absolutely. Just looking at that Group A, like we have a potential GSL Grand Final rematch with HyuN Classic. It doesn't get crazier than that. And just looking through every single group is so stacked and potential champions in each one. So
Classic, Huck, Lenok, and Sue. Just first group that was drawn. Like
that is insane,
man.
And I guess Huck has drawn the short stick here.
The short straw.
Are you making a short joke right now on live TV?
Nope. Well, you know.
Did he, Nathanius?
I don't know.
I know. I'm
I don't
totally
know,
honest.
Jeff.
I don't know, Kev.
He's drawn the short stick straw. What do you think? You don't agree? You think he's fine?
That is a tough group.
I feel bad for the rest of the group because he is about to dunk on him. All over.
Wow.
No,
EG
probably
passion
not.
is
he's definitely the least favorite there.
Hey,
Huck's PVZ has been pretty sharp, though, in Classic
true.
as a PvP matchup. If you are going to beat a top-notch Korean, it could be in that PvP matchup. It was supposed to be kind of funny, I guess. Space Marine beat it. Not really?
Sorry,
not my best?
No,
Sorry.
Not my best.
You have done better.
Yeah.
The threesome jokes were better.
That was pretty good. 0 comments on Team Liquid, by the way.
impressive.
They liked the you can do anything in Europe, and then their eyes just kind of glossed over it. They talked about Menage a Trois, apparently.
So favorites there are Classic and Sue over Lenok and Huck.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but...
Not even a butt, mate. Not even.
I like
so
this.
sorry.
Please fight your argument, Jeff.
I will always fight for the butt.
You look right at him in the eyes and tell him why he's wrong.
Come on.
Lenok is a former DreamHack champion. That's the person you cannot discredit. Huck is also...
MLG?
No, he's a DreamHack champion as well. I like this shot. You guys can see my full samurai do.
Yeah.
Don't know why it's a Jamurai.
Well, that's interesting that you bring up these points, but they're very, very distant past sort of achievements.
Look, I don't know how they StarCraft in Australia, but on the rest of the planet, no, you're probably right. But still, Lenok and Huck, if they are not, they're probably not the 2 favorites. I do agree with you on that, but not by much. This is not a group where we're like, what if Lenok and Huck can make a huge upset? Like, if there was a dominant Terran in here, I would be pretty close to discounting Huck. I don't think that's a matchup that he could excel in against a top-notch Korean. There's some guys that are just absolute monsters. But in PvP, he has that, for other people, very annoying habit of just kind of making out on top. I think back to a lot of his big wins, including MC in Orlando at MLG, which I know is like 3 years ago now, but that's to show how far back we can go. And still to this day, he beats really good Protoss. Beat herO fairly recently. If you're like 100 years old, anything's recent. So,
All right, well...
He actually beat Lenok recently, but that's about it.
That was in Toronto.
In
if I'm not
Toronto,
mistaken, yeah. So he's definitely capable of causing upsets in that group, but as we said, Classic and Sue should be the ones to advance. But anything's possible, Jeff. I will give you that. Let's go ahead and take a look at these groups again and bring up Group B and potentially C and D as well, and just kind of have a look at these because we do have some time here before we jump into this next one. So let's talk about Group B. First, Pult, TLO, and True. What do you think about this?
It's going to be... I think it's kind of a toss-up between First, Pult, and True. And I think TLO is kind of the weak link, especially after we saw him in Group Stage 2, unfortunately. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. First, Pult would be a very, very fun match. Maybe we'll get to cast that, I'm not sure. But it could be a lot of fun. And I think True will come out on top of that group.
I think for 3 people, it's very close. I could see Pult first or True kind of exchanging blows there and vying for first and second. I think TLO is unfortunately the big underdog, though it's worth mentioning he's been working really hard. His results have been pretty good. He's been smoking a lot of weed. So there's actually a really good chance that something crazy could happen here and he could pull out in his bag of tricks something clever and come out on top.
Yeah.
All right.
That small
I hope
tricks.
so. I hope so.
I mean, you look at that group, it's not half-baked. It's a really solid group.
Yeah.
A lot of people would think that anything could happen here. I'm trying to think.
Jeff, come on, keep going.
Then you say something real.
He's going deeper.
Come to me in a second.
So this is the part
Well,
where
he's
I
gonna
talk
make a
about
chronic habit
how
of winning. That's bad. That's not as good. That's not as good.
I thought you were going to say he pulled it out of his dime bag of tricks. That was all I could think of. So
Okay, you're better at that than I
all
am.
right, I tried. Now, the group I like Polt. His TVP has kind of always been good. He defeat the last Protoss player that he was able to beat was Parting. Very recently, I think True should be the strongest player, but I think this group could easily go in favor of Polt.
It's quite dynamic because you've got a bunch of players from different regions, around, right? And then they're just all thrown into this group here in Sweden.
Yeah.
So we haven't really seen them compete against each other. We haven't really seen Polt come for Europe for quite a while as well. True's over in Europe right now with Dead Pixels. Apparently, he's on tour with them over in Europe. But it's
What?
It's actually real what he's saying. That's the funny, weird world we live in right now.
But a dynamic group for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look at Group C. Group C. And see what that one looks like.
A lot of TVZ there. 4GG, Golden, Maro, Saxry.
A little bit more straightforward, that group, you'd say. Saxry, 4GG, and Golden fighting for top 2.
Yeah.
Over Maro, unfortunately.
Maro's dead.
Yeah.
I think Maro's pretty dead.
Are we all agreeing on that Maro's in trouble?
I would agree with that for sure. It's definitely one of the less, I don't want to be mean, but less interesting groups when you're looking at all of them. Yeah, it's these are good
I hate
players.
every one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not champions.
Screw those guys.
4GG's been playing very well recently. Likewise is Golden, and Saxry is a Dreamhack champion. So, it is one of the easier ones, but still difficult at the same time.
Yeah, it's still, every group is stacked essentially, but this one is just a little less interesting.
But who actually gets out then? Do we agree on
I think it's
someone?
actually a toss-up between Saxry, Golden, and 4GG.
Well, that's not a particularly amazing thing to say.
That's such
I
a
agree.
I think anyone
I think
could
it's
say
just
that,
very
Moonglade.
close.
Yeah,
It's
but
very
I'll
close between
say,
those three, though.
I'll say 4GG gets out.
Yeah?
First.
You believe in his Terran versus Zerg?
Yeah, 4GG's good, man.
All right.
Zergs have too much stuff to keep their eyes open for from Terrans these days. I think it's an
Denny's
easy
is
group.
so
for 'em.
Terran biased.
He
It's
is
hard
so
to take
Terran
him
biased.
seriously.
I literally just
I mean,
said that he was going to win because Terran's
I don't
OP. How does that make me
Come on.
biased?
I think we need to.
It seems to
reckon-
confirm your bias, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think we need to replace you with Todd. Maybe we would call
At
Todd
least,
up.
at least with Todd, you have unbiased,
Yeah.
really solid commentary that's fair to everyone. You know what I mean? He's polite.
Yeah.
He's well spoken.
Charming.
Pronounced everything really well. It's
You know.
just everything about him.
I forgot.
He's also
to,
like 7 feet taller than you, I think.
Which is
so
a problem.
He's like 70 years older than me too.
he's very old.
I mean,
He's
He's
real.
not born in '93. We can say that.
Yeah.
He has a tougher time
we need
controlling
to
his
add
bowel
some
movements.
stairs to the commentary area so he doesn't fall over hobbling up.
He should have been a commentator. He's doing it wrong. He should have been a commentator during the MLG era when all the commentators were 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Because he would have fit in and then become a player after that.
But he didn't.
He did it wrong.
Group D.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and look at Group D and continue our tracks through Group Stage 3 here. Of course, 32 players remaining. And in a couple of hours, weirdly, there's only going to be half of them left. Or actually, is that even weird at all? Because that's how the tournament format works, Moonglade. Group D, Jadong is drawn in with Ryung, Welmu, and either Grubby or Demuslim, who, because of the shortcut, electricity, power out, whatever, are still playing. Jeff, will Jadong advance?
Yes, I think so.
First place or second? And why? Just say it as it is.
I look at this group and say first. The ZVT matchup for him is a little bit weird right now. Like, I feel like you kind of have to, as a Zerg, well, I don't know, this is a little bit of a bold thing to say, but I feel like it's kind of back to that era where Hellbats were really dominant, although it's not Hellbats right now, where you have to mix in some cheese to throw the Terrans off. If they just go up fast 3 CCs and are dictating the pace, I see a lot of Zergs that are kind of running around scared. He even added Swarm Host in his last ZVT willy-nilly towards the end.
Is he talking nonsense, Moonglade, or is he actually factual?
No, I think to a degree he's correct. And I mean, the maps also play a big factor in this matchup. Kind of a problem, especially we've seen, we saw Deadwing.
Yeah.
I saw a terrible Deadwing game, TVZ. It can happen for sure.
But surely, Ryung, it just comes into this as the dark horse. Because, I mean, weirdly to say because he is such a veteran in the scene now, but we haven't seen anything of him majorly recently. He doesn't really go to many international events.
I would definitely
and he can just come into this group and actually ace it.
Yeah, I would definitely give Jadong first position in this group. I think if he plays as well as he did in Group Stage 2, I think he can get through this pretty easily.
Okay.
After seeing
Jadong
Jadong's ZVT against Tasia and WCS last week, I'm not particularly.
That was bad.
Is this the
Tasia
part
looked
where
pretty good.
Is this the part where Tasia always looks good, but I don't see I don't see anything that's inspiring enough to say that herO shouldn't be able to sweep the Zergs.
Right.
And I would even go so far as to say that for Jaedong's hopes of getting out of this group, you don't want to have more Terrans to play against.
Right.
And he would probably be hoping for Grubby to make it through.
It's tough because you have to, when Nathaniel talks about Terrans, you have to just kind of assume that he sees them all in the same light. Tasia is like several steps above even herO in TVZ in particular.
I won't disagree with that.
Well, you won't now because I'm making the point, but try to be a little bit quicker about it beforehand. Okay, this is Dreamhack. This is Pro League. Okay, this isn't your WCS backyard trash
All
commentary.
right, I'm sorry to have to break you guys up, but we do need to speed it up a little bit because we need to take a look at Group E and onwards because the first game is almost upon us. We haven't even talked about it yet. So here we do have Group E, which is going to be the group we're jumping into, so we'll skip that for now. We'll go to Group F. Life and MMA, two massive favourites there for sure. Daishi has the potential, in my opinion, for an upset. Anyone want to disagree with me? There is a potential in there that he upsets that group. Shut me down, Nathaniel. Go on, do it.
You know, there's a potential.
You play Terran, man.
There's a potential that Muslim wins the last group too. You know,
Thank you very much, Nathaniel.
It's just very unlikely.
Group G: Bunny, Lilbo, Patience, and Yoda. An all-round group there, I think. The skill level's not majorly different between all of them. Yoda is the favorite, is he not?
Yeah, Bunny doesn't like TVT against Korean Terrans in particular, but then his TVP. He not too long ago complained that his TVP is not great, but it's actually freaking amazing. So I think pretty clearly in my Patience and Lilbo are really good. I think Bunny could make it out. I think Yoda's won, and I think Bunny could edge out Patience probably.
If he edges out this group, he gets actually closer and closer towards that outsider's chance where he becomes a spot on everyone's radar for BlizzCon all of a sudden. Because he's not currently, because he is quite far out to do well here, to win WCS Premier League. That's a big, big ask, but every game he wins, the more visible he becomes for everyone.
That's absolutely correct. Every game that he wins, he gets better. That's true.
Yep. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your
chances get better.
Really great analysis.
Thanks, Jeff. Next group, we do have the final group of the group stage 3, which we can take a brief look at before we jump into talking about our first group that we will cover, and it is the Snoot group. And I know there's a lot of talk around Snoot, obviously, right now. He's in with Jack G and Solar. I'm just going to leave it at that. He's in with Jack G and Solar, guys.
Let's just get this out of the way for Sean. I mean, if every one of these players wins all their games, they're going to make it out of this group. So,
okay.
I mean, honestly,
but unfortunately, Jeff, when there's winners, there's losers.
That is literally correct, though.
That's really interesting way of putting it.
This is tough. This is tough. I think Space Marine is the underdog by a large margin. Is he the Shaq of this tournament? Does he make round 3 is where that gets confirmed. But assuming that's not the case, he's got 2 Koreans. Jokchi, as you were talking about behind scenes, he's playing really well right now. Although Snoot did beat Jokchi last time.
And the semifinals of Dreamhack Moscow, or the quarterfinals, around there, quarterfinals.
And then Solar, who's like quietly one of the absolute best Koreans, but again, he's just kind of like he's not super flashy, so every time he gets these results, we're just like, oh, yeah, round 3, good job. Top 16, round of 8, yeah, Solar. And nobody talks about him, so business as usual for him,
How difficult of a group is that for Snoot? If he'd been placed in any other group, is this a decent group for him?
I like this group for
It's a great group.
It's not horrible.
I think like Space Marine, he's surprised us, but he's not supposed to win in this group. I think that's an easy match for Snoot. His ZVP's never been bad. And then his ZVT has looked phenomenal.
That's
a weird way to describe his ZVP. It's never been terrible.
Well, I mean,
it is like absolutely in
control.
Incredible.
Come on, man.
Yeah, this is Europe. We can say that word. No, but listen, Space Marine is probably the weakest of the 32 remaining. Yeah. He's beaten Jokchi. And then his ZVZ has always been great. He's taken out Jaedong when Jaedong wasn't 15 and 13 in ZVZ. So
it's one of his best shots for sure.
He absolutely can.
Yeah.
So, he starts up against Solar, and then we'll be taking it from there. Whether that's more than likely to be Jack G, so it's going to be one to follow for sure, and we'll try and get some coverage of that a bit later on. But let's go into the group that we are going to start with here, and let's talk about the first game we're going to be covering. It's going to be CJ herO, the 2-time Intellect Stream Masters champion. He was the loser of the $100,000 final earlier this year. Goes up against the #1 ranked player in the world, according to the WCS rankings.
That's right.
What do you think about this matchup then? It's one of those games where you want to see happen because there's a lot of discussions around the WCS point system and the Kesper players. Sure. Now you actually get to see the #1 player go up against one of the best Protoss in Kesper.
Very, very exciting for sure, especially because I know how HyuN plays this matchup. He plays a very explosive 3-base Zerg, and he loves to just play full-on aggression. And against CJ herO, it's going to be really interesting to see how he reacts to it. And it's like one of the highest level matches we're going to see today for sure. And yeah, I'm very, very excited to see how it unfolds.
It's a treat of a match to see because for both of these players, like BlizzCon is kind of not really Obviously HyuN's going to go, but herO hasn't had those GSL runs, right? Being good in Pro League doesn't get you to BlizzCon, so it's like it's not possible for him to qualify at this point.
Isn't
so
herO like rank 7? I think he's like rank 7, CJ herO.
I may be thinking of the wrong herO then.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, my point is it's not on either of their minds for this tournament. So
they're in the group with Mana and Rhett. Are these two going through first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Unless Rhett does another amazing.
Rhett's 8-0
upset.
so far.
Yeah, he could for sure.
Well, this is where, again, I always talk about Dreamhack, but this is where you would make that story. On paper, no, they don't make it out, right? Man is a dead man. Rhett should be dead. But both those players are capable of moving through. Let's just see if they rise up to the occasion.
All right, well, thank you very much, gentlemen, once again. And it's now time to actually see this game unfold. And as these guys are expecting to see, this is a fight for almost first and second place based on their favoritism here in this group. Guys, take it away, Moonglade and In Control.
Thank you, Sean. Ladies and gents, we are off with this very high-level match. Super excited about it. Sorry for the delays. They had a little bit of, I guess, electricity problems over there, and I guess that's really important when you play games.
Yeah, you need that to run PCs and to play games, for sure.
You know, it's all the rage to complain about no LAN mode, but for me personally, where is the electricity-free StarCraft?
Where is the power? Yeah,
alternate energy. I mean, I think it is 2014. We should have floating skateboards as well. Let's go ahead and hop into the game and introduce these players. You'll notice it is merry-go-round, which is weird, and I'm going to ask Moonglade a lot of questions about ZVP here. But first, in the lower, well, not really a corner, at 6 o'clock, the red Protoss, it is CJ Entis herO.
Indeed. And at the top left here, we have the Zerg player representing Rokat. It is HyuN, the rank 1 WCS player this season. Very, very exciting match here. And it is merry-go-round, which is indeed an interesting map, especially for Protoss. It's not one of their favorite maps by far. I can't imagine we're going to see many bases from here. I feel like it's going to be a very aggressive sort of game. And this is kind of like one of the worst maps you'd want to play against HyuN of all people, because he loves his 3-base aggression.
Exactly.
It's going to cause a lot of problems, and I'm sure herO knows what he's doing there, and I'm sure he has a plan for this sort of situation. So we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what he's got plans.
I've got my notepad and pen out. I'm basically just going to listen to you commentate because I want to know. Because for me, the big issue, I agree with everything you said, but I feel like both HyuN and herO understand that plane as well. So
very much.
If the Zerg says to himself, you're not playing to a 3-base, you're not going to do that, that reduces the possibilities that he has to prepare for. And if he can do that and say, you're probably going to do some form of either a crippling 2-base timing attack or perhaps even an all-in, then you're just on the lookout for that. It's very simple. It gets boiled down to just getting up to 3 bases, maxing out, and probably killing the Protoss. Of course, it's more difficult and complicated than that, but enough questions do get answered that I do feel right off the bat the advantage is for the Zerg.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe herO is going to go for a kind of a 3rd base. I mean, just looking at the positions, though, it is such a bad map to be doing it on.
Moonglade,
the 3rd is so far away.
It's time. You need to turn in your Zerg Brethren card. I know there's an Illuminati thing going on. When a Protoss scouts 3 hatch before pool and they went 1 gate expand like this, what are Protoss supposed to do?
Well, they're certainly meant to put down a Nexus, that's for sure.
Going to do that.
Because there's
not
really
like
not
a
much
4
you can
gate or
do.
something?
No, it's simply not going to do enough. I mean, you can do it. There are sort of builds out there where you really go aggressive with early gateway units. I see MC do it a lot, actually. He will chrono boost out a Zealot or 2 and then some Stalkers and really apply pressure. And I actually really would like this on this map because the 3rd base is so far away from the natural. Creep spread's going to be a real issue early on. And we do see a very fast Zealot already into HyuN's base, which I actually really like a lot. Apply some pressure. Still a long time before Queens are out and Zerglings are half done. But he has to force out these Zerglings and force these drones to run around like this. Has cost him a lot of money.
It is, but he needs to cost him a lot of money with 3 hatch before pool. And I mean, even the 1 gate expand, it definitely has its advantages. You get to your tech a lot quicker, but the Nexus goes down quite a bit slower. So there was kind of invisible money exchange here, and this Mothership Core looks to try to grab a drone for itself, and it looks like it will.
Yeah, it looks like he gets 1 drone, but he's going to have to run away from that. Oh, I almost got 2 there. Yeah, he's doing like a nice little bit of harassment there while the 3rd base is up for HyuN. So, you know, little bits here and there. We see 2 more gateways added for herO. It's going to be interesting to see what he's going to go from here. 3 gates. It kind of leads me to believe that he will go for a 3rd base. It's hard to say. I mean, his warp gate's almost finished as well. We don't see any. We do see a pylon on the map actually, and it has been scouted by HyuN.
Nice.
So it looks like
And
herO
the pro
was going
too.
to go for some aggression here, but
Yeah.
nothing's really going to come of it.
Or
because
maybe he's
that
faking it out. He wants to sell that message because I agree with what you said. This setup from the Protoss is going to be, well, at least at first glance, there is a robo actually going down right here, and I actually really don't like the placement of it because it's just immediately under the eyes of the Zerg.
Yeah, that's never
You
the
know
place.
that it's being spotted, so it's kind of bad. But
Yeah.
to finish my thought, Stalker Sentry is very common. You move out, and the threat, of course, is this. It's just a 2-base gateway timing attack, so the Zerg has to react. But then you can just plop down the third behind it and defend, and you're not committed to it one tech or another. We actually saw that in the Kane first series.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do see a robotics facility come out, and we still. It's hard to say what he's going to go from here. I feel like he might be going for a third Nexus, but at the same time, getting a robo this early, kind of unheard of. Usually when you go for this kind of build, usually
Warp Prism.
Warp Prism. So he's going to continue the aggression here. He's going to go for a bit of a funky build, and it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to follow up with sort of like an Immortal in. So that's one thing I could see.
Yeah.
But I mean, on this map, it's still so hard because it's so open. You're going to need so many force fields to really make it work.
Pretty great damage over here. He does pick off a queen, gets one down to enough health that it needs to be worried for its life. He is going to back away. But all this stuff forcing out lings that are not drones means that this 3-base opening is not quite reaping what it potentially could sow, so to speak.
You know what I'm thinking it is? I think it's actually going to be a sentry on the ramp. He's going to go for that sort of like take out the main with some warp ins. But
And then build Immortals behind it. Well, he's actually...
it's
Is
going to
Warp
be
Prism out there? Where'd it go? Did he cancel it? No, it's just going straight across the map.
It's actually like almost at the ramp now, and it looks like HyuN hasn't reacted at all, and it's gonna be a big problem. He's putting queens on the top here.
2 queens is pretty good, though, actually. They can focus down the Warp Prism if it tries to do anything. He's going to back away.
Wow, so he's gonna go for the drone line instead, but really nice reactions from HyuN there. Yeah, this is gonna be an Immortal in follow-up here, so...
I just don't like it. The Overlord is staring at this.
Yeah.
This game becomes so simple. Like, this Immortal Rush is hard to hold off no matter what, so don't get me wrong, and especially if herO is your pilot, by the way.
I mean, considering where the Roach Warren is in terms of being made, it's kind of really late, so his Roach production is going to be very, very slow from this, which can be a big problem in the scheme of things. We'll have to wait and see exactly how many he can get at before
54
these
drones seems about right, though, and he does start speed immediately. When speed finishes, by the way, Immortal pushes become very difficult to deal with. There's that warp in the main.
Very nice, though. Getting rid of a queen.
Gets the queen.
That's actually a really big deal, considering he needs as much production as possible to get to defeat this Immortal.
And behind that, he is just doing that. He can't lose sentries. He's just going to pick him up when the shields get kind of peeled off. Only one queen means that he can't really focus on the Warp Prism either. We have 3 Immortals out already. No gas to the natural, so this is very much so min-max. He's going to seal himself in with that pylon and is pushing out. He won't have the ability to warp in much in the way of like Stalkers or Sentries. As you can see, his gas income is very light. But he's facing, for right now, slow Roaches and mostly Lings, so Zealots will get the job done. He just needs to be pretty perfect about his force fields.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the force fields, but he's going to have such a buffer with so many Zealots in this situation, and I actually kind of like the damage he did. He got rid of a couple of queens, really essential queens, honestly.
Yeah.
And
no observer here, though. It's kind of a mistake.
Yeah, but if he takes a fight now, he can actually win, so it's going to be up to HyuN to find the good positioning.
Those force fields trap in the Roaches, but does he have enough? The Zealot's having kind of a slow time getting over there. I don't. It's hard. It's a little bit too early to call. The big warp in does come in. He's sandwiching a lot of those Roaches in there, and he actually caught enough of it that it looks like the damage output of the Zerg has been severely kind of dampered, put down. Can the Zerg outlast us, though? Because a lot of those force fields were expelled right there, which means it's not going to have much in the way of reinforcements for that. But 3 Immortals dealing so much damage.
3 Immortals that have not actually been touched whatsoever. I mean, as long as these warp-ins of Zealots keep coming in, I don't see herO losing this at all.
Yeah, too much Protoss here. You pointed out earlier, Moonglade, but the Zealots, they might not be doing much in the way of connecting with their targets, but they're just buffering for those Immortals, which are dealing so much damage. He goes up the ramp with the Warp Prism, even the Mothership Core coming in here on the action. And the supplies are still in favor of the Zerg. He's going to pull drones here, but that's not going to do much with the Zealots there either, and he's just getting hammered by herO.
Yeah, absolutely. These three Immortals have not taken any damage whatsoever, and yeah, there's simply nothing left for HyuN to do. He has lost too much. He got his Roaches too slow. The Roach speed upgrade was nowhere near finished when he had to engage. He was completely caught out by this, and he saw everything as well. It's just the Warp Prism harassment did simply too much damage to the Queens. He was out of position with his Zerglings when it came down to it. So, a bit of misplays there from HyuN, and he lost a map that he should not have lost.
I agree with everything. So much so that I'm not even going to go back over. I'm just going to jump on where you left off. I mean, he misplayed it. The Warp Prism goes down the middle of the map. It goes past the tower. It goes over the creep. It was projected.
Yeah.
He saw it the entire way. The original, like, the initial drop at the ramp never came because the queens deflected it, but then he was able to pick off queens with great force fields. He warped in just... He never did the, like, 12 Zealot warp in or something stupid like that. Not that he had 12 gates, but, you know, like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Because he was just kind of very minimalist about it, but picking off those queens, cutting into the production, occupying his attention, and then walking out the map the way he did. And also, it's worth noting, we said he needed perfect force fields. I don't know that he had a bad force field. He was always catching roaches with those force fields.
He was
They were
very,
great.
very, very solid with those force fields. And I mean, even if everything wasn't under an overload, like seeing that warp prism, seeing how minimal the warp-ins were from it, he would know that it's going to be an immortal in coming up from it. And he just didn't... His creep spread was pretty minimal as well. I feel like there was a lot of big mistakes there from HyuN. Just simply... Yeah, just getting his tier 2 pretty late as well was a bit of a shock.
I think one slight thing, and this is kind of cool for people at home to check in on too, like I feel like, I don't know that he did this, I didn't check to make sure, but I don't think he did. With that overload at the natural, you also check to see if he's mining gas at the natural, because that, again, really broadcasts what it is. With gas at the natural, it could be something else. It could be the more like Stalker Sentry heavy push, in which case you need to have a larger army and you can actually afford to get 10 more drones out or something like that. Or if it's the no gas variation like we saw, that then ends up meaning it's coming really quick and it's going to have very few sentries, so you need to be thinking about either counterattacking and base trading or trying to buy time by engaging mid-map to earn time for things like those speed roaches, more lings, more roaches.
Yeah, absolutely. He would have known if he saw those 2 gases at the natural, okay, it's going to be a very, very zealot-heavy sort of immortal alien, so you're going to have to make a lot more roaches. You're going to have to find a really good positioning. You can't get force fielded in like he did.
Right.
So, yeah, a few mistakes there from HyuN, unfortunately. We'll have to wait and see if he can do a little bit better on King Sejong Station, the second map, which, you know, possibly. He does play very well on this map as well, and it does go to that 3-base Zerg style that he loves.
Exactly. The third base of the Protoss, we talked about this last time, Ungle and I commentated the Kane versus First series. It's okay for Protoss, but it's not super amazing. Protoss could, in their own, you know, behind closed door meetings, negotiate maps where the third is even more minimal. The choke space is a little bit lower, or there's a ramp. If there's ever a ramp involved, Protoss loves that.
Absolutely.
So that does mean that Roachling aggression, kind of one of the big things that HyuN's known about, or at least Roach Hydra, again, something he's known for, can be very strong here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, who do we have to the top left?
Let's introduce him. Top left-hand side, coming straight out of Kespa's Korea. It is the Protoss CJ Entis herO. And sneaking in under the radar of Nathanius' WCS projections at number 7 or so in the top 10, doing very well for himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And to the bottom right, we have the player currently down a game in a bit of a shocking display on merry-go-round. It is Rokat's HyuN.
I don't disagree with you. I think the criticism is justified. HyuN is a aggressive, a micro-oriented, very fast player. When I think of him, I think of Roaches and ZVT kind of uniquely. That's something that he's always done.
Yeah, he's actually crazy when it comes to Roaches. Like, even in, especially in ZVT, I remember, like, last year, he was just insane, the amount of Roach Hydra he would go in that matchup when it just seemed not really viable at all. But he made it work every time. And
made it work.
And even in this matchup, it's the same sort of deal, but it's a lot more viable in this matchup, so no surprise there. And we're going to see that hatch first, double hatch before pool. Sort of style again, and herO, by the looks of things, is going to go for that Nexus first. So
the greedy one. And you can even go Gateway behind this if you think you're not going to face like early pool or speedlings. This is actually interesting for both players. That we've seen kind of a resurgence from a lot of the Zergs in just going straight hatch first or even 2 hatch before pool, because Zergs have become a little bit more consistent and better about dealing with cannon rushes, but also Forge expands have become a little bit more wishy-washy. We're seeing more Gateway expand type openings, so this becomes more viable. On the flip side, herO's build is, let's make no mistake, extremely risky in and of itself. If you can blind counter this, a 10 pool, fast speed, these are the kinds of all-ins that are very high percentage chances of success against this. But herO says, HyuN, I think you're going to pool if you can, or excuse me, hatch if you can. And likewise, HyuN's doing this because he thinks herO is more of a gateway expand kind of guy.
Yeah, and both of them making the right call, essentially. So very, very greedy start here. Let's see if HyuN can... see if his decision-making is a little bit better this game. I mean, I don't think he'll ever get like a game like that on a silver platter, like information-wise. Like, he knew every single thing that was going on that game.
Even earlier on, he sacked an Overlord, which at first glance doesn't seem to have as much value to it, but what it did confirm is that there's no like very fast 4-gate to follow up that Nexus. There's no aggression. So, we don't really have excuses for HyuN other than he was playing, oh, by the way, one of the top 3, 4, 5 best Protosses on the planet who didn't miss a force field. I know that's like it kind of gets glossed over because commentators are famous for saying like, oh, perfect force fields, but those were actually fairly perfect force fields from the only 3 or 4 sentries that he had. So
yeah,
herO executed on another level.
You kind of expect it from someone like herO, and I mean, at the same time, to be fair, like Immortal Lin's one of those strategies that even if you know it's coming, it can still kill you.
Exactly.
You can still kill you. So
it's a lot like a bunker rush in that way, where it's like, it's not so simple as having it scouted out. There's actually multiple layers of difficulty after that. That being said, though, if you're #1 WCS, you probably exist on a plane where, that's true, but as you said, silver platter. I agree. Going into this game, we see that off that greedy expansion from herO, so far non-committal. Well, as I say that, actually I'm proven wrong. There's the Twilight Council just outside that otherwise scouting Overlord's vision. This can be for fast ET or Blink. Moonglade, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is it?
Ah, man. I'm going to say we're going to see DT. That's what
You're
I'm
correct.
saying.
You and I are guessing the same thing.
We're doing
with how fast it is.
Yeah.
I know Blink is forever very common with Korean Protosses in particular, but that's a fast Twilight Council against a Zerg that he scouted that's 3 hatch before pool.
Oh,
we were both wrong, damn it!
Well, I was looking at his gateway at the same time, and I'm like, well, he's making more Stalkers, man, so I'm kind of thinking like, oh crap, I made the wrong call.
Well, what if it's herO that made the wrong call?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's going to be very, very early, and he's kind of showing a lot just with 2 Stalkers already. Like, oh, you're making some pretty early Stalkers here. This is usually kind of the follow-up is going to be a Blink Stalker roll-in, so we're going to have to wait and see how greedy hyuN's going to be, which is going to be another thing. And he did scout 3 gateways at the front there, so he's thinking, okay,
God, this is fast.
That's at least 4 gates.
Yeah.
So he's going to, okay, I think we're going to see aggression at this point because 4 gates is a little much.
There's a chance that hyuN absolutely is reading exactly what you're saying. That being said, only 1 creep tumor down, no Roach Warren that I can see. Speed just now started. There's actually a... Blink is going to finish before Speed, to give you an idea of how fast this upgrade is.
Yeah, this is actually really, really scary.
My God. And he won't... I bet he doesn't take the gas as natural. I bet this is just a balls to the wall, Speed, Blink, open.
Yeah, I think so, for sure. And I think it can do a lot of work. I mean, we do see a lot of Zerglings coming out, but I mean, no speed.
They're slow.
No speed. It's not going to be a problem.
Scarlet could beat that with...
Yeah.
Oh, but that's nice. On creep gets 1 Stalker. Not the... You know, it's not like, oh god, GG, game over, but that's important. The beginning of it. That's how you get there.
Yeah, well, I mean, considering you have 2 gases, it's a big deal losing every single Stalker at this point.
Actually, you know, I was breathing deep because I was like, oh man, no roaches. But actually, Speedlings are okay against Blink Stalkers, like 2 base like this.
If there's enough of them, and I mean, considering there's no upgrades on these Stalkers, if they were like +2 or something, sure, Zerglings would suck, but... You know, it's not looking too bad. Once Speed is finally upgraded, if he can buy enough time, if he stops any sort of economic damage early on, he can make it work. But that's a lot of Stalkers now.
It's a lot of Stalkers. Blinks forward, gets these slow Zerglings. They're getting kind of hacked a bit. Supply advantage still in Zergland, but this is a 2-base timing attack. herO's putting it all on the line here. He's going to work on these rocks. And just now Spinecrawlers go down. I think that's a little bit too late. If you're just going to go pure Lings like this, I feel like you needed that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, but he does have that speed now. But we do see a lot of Zealots getting warped in too, so herO's going to have an amazing position when it finally comes down to it. He's going to have to stop these spines from coming up, but man, it's going to be so hard for even Zerglings to do this.
Tries to get the surround Zealots, again, creating such good space there, blinking back the Wounded Stalkers. Spinecrawlers, it looks like they will complete, but he actually disengages just before that. So 1 gets a volley from the Stalkers and goes down. There's just 2. A lot of Queens coming up here as well, though. And this ramp position starts to be very good for hyuN. hyuN's getting the shield off a lot of Stalkers, but not a lot of Stalkers are dying, actually.
Yeah, it's actually really perfect Blinks here. Look at that, just all the shields gone and barely any HP, and we do see another huge Zealot warp in, so...
He can get around it.
Yeah, he can actually blink into the main now.
And there's no vision here. If he can blink up there and wait for the cooldown for some time, this is actually super strong for the Protoss, and he does come in. Notice again how the blink is cooling down and coming back. He's going to go over here. He's just going to get a few free Zerglings. But again, this is just for shields. Not bad.
Essentially, yeah. So nice little trade there. A lot of Queens. I actually think hyuN might have
nice. Yeah.
Queens are actually doing a really good job here. And with 2 spines down here, no upgrades whatsoever for these Stalkers or anything like that, which is actually a big deal, especially against Zerglings.
Yeah. You'll notice no gas at the natural for the Protoss, no third, of course, no tech switch here. He's not even building probes. These Queens need to get surface area. A lot of Zerglings dying over there to those Zealots. And again, the Stalker count's not really being affected. Supplies are evening up just a little bit, but I almost wonder if herO was working against the clock. There's so many Queens here that they're getting like a little concave of Queens at the top of this ramp, and the Spinecrawlers are helping out as well, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. He hasn't lost too many Stalkers just yet, though, but he's going to have. It's going to be harder and harder for him to find a way in at this point.
That 3-base economy and production for hyuN is just it's going to eclipse the Protoss eventually, but it looks like he's going to try to blink up in the main again. This is once again not spotted by the Zerg, and he's out of position. So HyuN, unfortunately, is in a situation where he's just going to lose a few drones almost for nothing.
Yeah, by the looks of it. There's actually not many Zerglings either. There's a lot of Queens at this point. He could actually trade very, very efficiently at this one.
Meanwhile, by the way, there's a counterattack of Zerglings over at the natural of herO, and he does. Is that the? He killed the spawning.
He killed the
pool.
spawning pool. He sniped it just, but he did.
Cow.
It cost him a lot of Stalkers at the same time.
Zealots warped in over at the natural, but they're actually going to do no good defending the wall in here. If that other pylon dies, it's 3 gateways depower, or maybe 2. But that's actually kind of a big deal in this situation. Stalker's just kind of waffling at their supply advantage is actually in Protoss camp right now. The killing of the spawning pool means that 1,400 minerals have stacked up.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we haven't seen a Roach Warren go down just yet, because I feel like that would be the next step to kind of completely shutting this down. If you had Roaches sitting on the high ground here, there's simply no way that that the Protoss is going to get in there. I mean, look at the bank of HyuN at the same time. We should see a macro hatchery at the very least. 2 more queens being
minerals.
made. I mean, there's a lot of ways that he could be spending this money, but he's not spending anything. He's kind of tunnel visioned at the moment.
Being made by herO, he took the gases at his natural. He's going to poke and prod, but I ask you this, has it been held? Is he done?
He has held it, but I feel like the follow-up here for HyuN has to be realized pretty soon. He cannot just be making Zerglings this whole time. He should be upgrading, he should be teching, he should be going into Hydra, he should be going to something else. And
I'll tell you what, he's held, and he took little economic damage. The not remaking of the spawning pool, like the second it was getting targeted down, he should have made one over his 3rd or something like that.
Yeah, he should have. And he's going to go for the counterattack here. He's going to try and catch Yami out. Maybe not.
Not enough Zerglings.
Not enough Zergling. He did make a lot, though. Like, look at more coming from the natural there. He has made a lot. And he's putting down 2 Evo chambers, which I really like. I hope we see some 1-1 Zergling upgrades from this, because he has enough Zerglings to warrant.
Can't be. Well, I guess it could be range. It's HyuN.
Yeah, it could be.
Drone production starts back up. There's a huge number of... There's actually still that probe and pylon over there. That's kind of funny. We'll see if that comes back to bite him. 3rd base attempt going down, as well as a robotics facility for our Protoss player. And I'll tell you what, this is a pivotal moment. We'll go back and either rule this really, really smart and ballsy, or the wrong choice for herO. Disengaging like that after such a commitment. We have all the numbers in front of us, and this is, if there was ever a perfect time to do that while not losing your army, that was it. herO is playing at an amazing level, but it could be one of those things where it's, the stone was already thrown, and now we're going to see the ripples later. Maybe that timing attack just didn't do enough, and HyuN, moving up to 4 bases, is just going to outpass him.
Yeah, it certainly did. It didn't kill. It didn't really do much economic damage whatsoever. It kind of just halted everything. Both players kind of standing still in terms of economy and tech for a long time. And so from here, I mean, I do really like HyuN's follow-up here. We do see 1-1 Lings. Haven't really committed to any other sort of tech just yet, though.
This counterattack, though.
Yeah, that's a huge, a sick amount of Zerglings.
Yeah, for a second he actually... HyuN is such a funny guy. He sent back, like, specifically 12 Zerglings. Like, no, I'm just going to counterattack with the rest of my freaking small...
Oh, here we go. Huge counterattack while this hell happens. If he can actually get into the main... Oh, but a great sort of block there. He's going to have to focus down at least the
gets the big warp in. Go to the 3rd. I don't quite understand why he's like so oblivious. He saw the drones there, or the probes, excuse me.
He sees a lot of probes. He
he's just going to go for it.
He wants to kill it, it seems. I mean, I don't blame him considering he sees such a huge Stalker force at the front of the natural for HyuN.
Drones being pulled into the Zealot wall. The Spine Crawlers getting isolated. Perfect control from herO. And this is just really where there are Roaches burrow there, and there's still no detection, but it's just 4 Queens and a handful of Roaches. The Zerglings are breaking through the wall, but there's enough choke points that they're just not going to do it. 150 supply. HyuN is completely dead. This is just not even close.
Yeah, he definitely made the wrong call trying to go for such a huge counterattack. I feel like he should have been going for Roaches a lot earlier, knowing exactly what kind of composition herO had. And from here, I mean, he dies to an attack and completely fails with his counterattack. What are you going to do with just Zerglings? I mean, it's so hard to do a successful counterattack against Protoss with Zerglings.
Yeah, the SimCity of herO at the unfinished base at that moment was just great. Warp Person comes up here, can warp in a few more. I mean, he actually has detection now, so herO will not save the Zerg player, but it's supply differential is, of course, gargantuan. But, I mean, herO has 3 mining bases. He's totally fine. And he just outmaneuvered him. Do the Zerglings back at home hold this, Moonblade?
They have certainly a much better chance. I feel like...
yeah, I guess we can say that much.
I feel like he could have held it. If he could have held it, if he had his Roaches in place. It feels like he was just really caught out of position. Like
he was. The Queens were blocking off a lot of those Roaches. They weren't getting their damage in there. If the Zerglings could flank attack and get it at the soft underbelly of like the Stalkers that blink back, I think he would have had to recall back. It's not ideal because the Protoss at 3 bases now, but better than this.
I actually think he could have held it if he decided to play a less counterattacky. Like counterattacking with so many Zerglings can very rarely do much.
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. Even against no cannon at the front, just a line of gateways.
That's what happened. Yeah.
And he should have gone for that third base. So you know what he should have done? He should have kept 12 Zerglings there and sent the rest home. And then use those 12 Zerglings
Flip the ratio.
Yeah, to kill the third. That only had like one cannon defending it. I mean, at the very least. And yeah, kind of throwing away that game as well. So a bit of a shame from HyuN.
It is too bad. And in a different way, not to the same degree, but I kind of like what you said even about the first Kane series. Like on paper, not a super amazing match, but kind of the decisions that were made there were really cool. On this hand, it was very one-sided. I feel like the decisions herO made were really sharp and really cool. And I know a lot of people, whenever they're like, oh, wow, he decided not to continue with the Blink Stock roll, and it's like, yeah, but that's actually kind of a big deal. He didn't have gas at his natural. He was stuck at 16 probes per mineral line. Like, he was pretty all in, and he did just enough damage to realize that the defense and the reaction and the time bought by HyuN was enough that if he kept hitting his head against that wall, he would just die. He disengaged, and like I said, we have all the numbers. We saw that they were about equal in all departments. It was really well done by herO.
Yeah, it was very, very well played. Great follow-up. And yeah, it seems like HyuN was just not expecting that sort of aggression once
He's
again.
like, I'm the guy that's supposed to be attacked.
He's like, wait,
what is going on?
I defended this. I should be miles ahead, but
Yeah.
wrong. Like, he got +1 and he moved across the map again. And that was all it took because he went for a huge Zergling and counterattack, which did nothing. So.
Well, you were right about a couple other things, too. Like, if you're playing against herO, Team CJ Entis' herO, if you stack up 2,000 minerals at the pre-15-minute mark, you're probably in a lot of trouble. You were saying things
Big
like
mistake.
Macro Hatch, Roach Warren.
Big
These are things that he just flat out could do. He could do. I mean, when he finished the spawning pool, he made 54 Zerglings, and he still had 1,200 minerals left over.
It was already at the point where he defended and the Stalkers were retreating. Can you imagine if he made drones with those 54 Zerglings?
Right.
My God, he'd be in heaven. He would have had mass Hydra.
Oh, that's a really good point too. Yeah, because that's the thing about Lings is he has 2,000 minerals that he literally cannot spin with the larva available to him. So have the kind of the Zerg insight to look into that and say, okay, well, yeah, I want to save up larva because if he continues the all in when the spawning pool finishes, I want to make defenses, but instead spin it on 3 queens at a time and use that interim moment where you don't have a spawning pool to make 20 some odd drones. You can't make spawning crows. Spawning crows, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was bit of a misplay, bit of bad decision making from HyuN, unfortunately, and I wonder if he's feeling jet lagged or something because I feel like it's just uncharacteristic in Control. It's just not right.
Well, if he's feeling jet lagged, it's no less an excuse because herO had to come, I believe, the same amount of distance, right?
Well, no, because HyuN lives in Europe, man.
Then he has.
Yeah, actually, he wouldn't.
You're just taking his excuse away right now.
So
You realize
sorry.
that?
I'm so sorry.
You're just ripping his pajama pants off, and there's no excuse.
I just realized there's actually no excuse whatsoever.
That's right.
No excuse at all.
So I think we're waiting on an interview with Smix and herO in just a few moments. But if you guys are just now joining us, this was the 4th best of 3 for the day. We are in Group Stage 3, and we have 2 more fantastic matches to broadcast for you guys with Apollo and Nathanius. And I think we are ready for that interview. So Smix, take it away.
Thank you very much, In Control. Congratulations, herO, on your first win in your group. I'm sure you must be very happy as it was arguably the hardest match that you would have had to face. Now, herO, HyuN is currently ranked #1 in WCS. However, you are really, really great at PvZ. Your win rate, I'm not sure if you're aware, is actually 76%, which is amazing. So because of that, going into this match, were you confident? Did you prepare anything specific for HyuN, or did you just play your game as you usually do? 질문 기억했어요? 네.
지금 하고 있는 거예요?
네, 지금 하고 있어요.
아 진짜요?
He wasn't even aware the interview was going on.
하고 있는지 몰랐어. 석현이 형이랑 저번에 IM에서 했었는데 정말 잘하는 형이라 생각해가지고 이번에는 좀 후반 운영을 안 보고 좀 초중반에 힘을 주는 빌드로 선택했는데 그게 잘 통했던 것 같아요.
So he says, HyuN is a player that I actually played at IM, and since then I've always known he's a great player, and so playing him here, I went into the games with the mindset of, I'm going to try not to go for the late game. I'm going to try to end it earlier on. And I think that was able to work really well against him. And that's why I was able to win. Now, herO, next you're actually going to be playing Rhett because he defeated Mana 2-0. What do you know about Rhett and how are you feeling going up against him? As arguably you are the favorite, but how do you personally feel about it?
렛 선수 제가 경기를 잘 많이 못 봐가지고 어떤 선수인지 어떤 스타일인지 잘 모르는데 지금 제가 경기해봤을 때 손놀림이 너무 깔끔해가지고 지금 누구한테도 안 질 것 같기 때문에 예, 깔끔한 승리가 예상됩니다.
Says, to be quite frank, I haven't actually watched many of Rhett's games, so I don't really know what his style is like or what he's like as a player, but as I just played with HyuN, I just felt like my play was so smooth. I just felt like everything was going exactly as I wanted it to, so I honestly think it's going to be a clean victory for me, no matter who I face. So lastly, herO, this is your first Dreamhack. You chose the hardest Dreamhack to attend as your first Dreamhack. There's so many amazing players here, including yourself. Do you have a goal here, or are you just trying to do your best?
진짜 처음으로 드림에 갔는데 조보고 너무 자잘하고 있었는데 그래도 운 좋게 여기까지 오게 된 것 같아서 너무 좋고 첫 드림핵인데 이렇게 힘든 것도 나쁘지 않은 것 같아요. 이렇게 우승하면은 더 값질 것 같기 때문에 우승하겠습니다.
So he says, yes, this is my first Dreamhack. I did choose the hardest one. I was looking at the groups and the players that are attending here, and I was a little bit worried, but I think that because it is such a hard event, because the players here are so great, I think that it would mean even more if I was able to win the whole thing because it is such a tough event. So I'm just going to make sure to win the whole thing. So thank you very much, herO, for this interview. Guys, we are going to cut to a quick break, but when we come back, it'll be MMA versus life. So don't go anywhere.